New working week, it is set to turn wetter and windier overall. Already this evening we are starting to see rain move in from the west, and this will spread eastwards across many areas overnight. It will turn heavy and persistent in places, particularly over some higher ground sites like northwestern England and parts of northwest Wales. Blustery night to come as well. But those winds are filtering in some very mild air, and so by the time we reach Monday morning, many of us will see double-digit figures when we're walking out the door. Despite the mild start to the day, though, do be prepared for a lot of cloud on the scene. It's going to be fairly damp and dreary for many. Further outbreaks of rain possible as you are heading to work. Some of those could be on the heavy side as well. The winds will be blustery right throughout the day. We could see gales in exposed coastal and mountain areas. Generally, if you are a little bit further towards the east, there is the greater chance, particularly into the afternoon, that we start to see the cloud breaking up a touch more. And maybe for parts of southeastern England, northeastern Scotland as well, we might start to see some sunshine merging through. And generally, eastern areas will stay that little bit drier, with the rain more persistent out towards the west. But it is going to be a mild day right throughout, even despite the cloudy scenes, and temperatures will be peaking around 15 to 16 degrees Celsius. Our low pressure system is going to stay with us into Tuesday. A lot of isobars on the chart here indicating it's going to remain fairly unsettled. The occluded front generally draped northeast to southwest, and that's where we're going to see the bulk of the rain moving through on Tuesday. Potential for some quite heavy rain to move across southwest England into southern Wales at points as well. There's still some uncertainty in regards to exactly where that will be positioned, but certainly southeastern England, again northern Scotland, perhaps seeing some brighter spells moving through. But the unsettled and slightly mild theme is looking to continue right throughout next week. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
The stuff. Well, the devil is not going to win. That is the headline on many of the front pages tomorrow. Alleged words of the attacker on the train in Huntingdon yesterday. So we'll be digging into all of those stories there. Lots more on that one. Of course, the heroic train worker who threw himself in the mix to save the lives of countless others. Do you think he deserves a medal? I certainly do. Nigel Farage is putting out some policies tomorrow. We'll get the latest information on that. Dodgy baby scans, maybe healthy babies being aborted because of dodgy scans. So much more. See you in a moment.
We're giving you the chance to win your entire Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Brave.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. First up, the brave and quick-thinking train driver who saved the many lives late last night during the horrific mass stabbing has been named as Andrew Johnson, a Royal Navy and Iraq War veteran. That's all while the heroic rail worker who tried to stop the knife attacker is still battling for his life.
If you do stop and search to saturation, deadly weapons of every sort get removed from circulation.
Yes, we're talking about this quite a lot, aren't we? Is stop and search the answer on how to keep Britain safer? Well, Reform UK's Zia Youssef certainly thinks so. Also... Well, he's back, isn't he, Madapassa? Nigel Farage has responded to those clips of Madapassa appearing to post videos from prison. Oh, and has anyone seen Frankie? A flamingo is on the loose in the southwest of England. I'll bring you all the breaking details on that one. Yes, and joining me this evening, GB News contributor and comedian extraordinaire Paul Cox, senior reporter at Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley, and Labour councillor Sebastian Salek. But before we get stuck into all of this news, let's get your headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Cheers, Alex. Good evening to you. Just after 11 o'clock here in the GB newsroom. A 32-year-old British man from Peterborough is being treated as the only suspect in yesterday's mass stabbing on a train in Cambridgeshire. The second suspect arrested, a 35-year-old man, has been released with no further action. A knife's been recovered at the scene, and forensic teams are continuing to move through the carriages looking for evidence. Authorities say the heroic rail staff member who tried to stop the attack undoubtedly saved lives. He remains in life-threatening condition. 5 other people have been discharged from hospital. Meanwhile, the train driver who's been credited with saving lives by quickly diverting the London-bound train to Huntingdon Station after the alert was raised has been identified as Andrew Johnson, an Iraq War veteran. British Transport Police Superintendent John Lovelace says it's not being treated as terror-related.
Counter-terrorism policing were initially supporting our investigation. However, at this stage, there is nothing to suggest that this is a terrorist incident. This is a British Transport Police investigation, and we continue to work to establish at pace the full circumstances and the motivations that have led to this incident.
Now, a 9-month-old baby has died after a dog attack in South East Wales. Gwent Police said officers responded to an address in the village of Roggett in Monmouthshire at 6 p.m. on Sunday. The baby was pronounced dead at the scene. The dog has been seized and removed from the address. The Defence Secretary says Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is to be stripped of his remaining honorary title. John Healey says the government is working to remove Andrew's rank of Vice Admiral in the Royal Navy at the King's request. He was given the honour in 2015 and retained it even after giving up his other military positions in 2022. Andrew was stripped of his royal titles as a prince last week over his relationship with the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The first charter flight carrying British citizens back from Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa landed at Gatwick Airport earlier. Around 8,000 British nationals are understood to have been on the island when the Category 5 storm made landfall on Tuesday. At least 50 people across the Caribbean have been killed and nearly 500,000 remain without power. The UK has sent £7.5 million worth of humanitarian support, including shelter kits and solar-powered lanterns. Israel says Hamas has handed over the bodies of 3 more deceased hostages from Gaza. The coffins were delivered by the Red Cross and transported to Israel for formal identification. Hamas says they were discovered in a tunnel in southern Gaza on Sunday. If confirmed, it will mean that 8 dead hostages remain unaccounted for. Israel has accused Hamas of violating the terms of the deal by delaying the return of the bodies. Hamas says they're buried under tons of rubble and it needs heavy equipment to retrieve them. Finally, the Prince of Wales has departed for Brazil as he prepares to host the Earthshot Prize in Rio de Janeiro. It takes place shortly before the country also stages COP30, the annual UN climate conference. William says, with the world's eyes turning to Brazil this week, there's no better place to celebrate bold climate leadership. When we work together, he says, with optimism and courage, a more sustainable future is within our reach. He launched the prize in 2020 in an effort to find solutions towards fixing environmental problems within a decade. Those are your headlines. You're fully up to date. Now it's over to Alex.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Welcome back to The Late Show. Of course, we're doing all of our front pages here. The front page of The Independent. Let's go to that first. Heroic train worker fighting for life after stabbing rampage. The Metro. Scandal of risky high street baby scans calls for law change as real illness is missed and mums told healthy unborns are dead. The Telegraph. The Devils not going to win. Train attacker told passengers. Guardian. Heroic rail worker in fight for life after tackling train knife attacker. The Eye. Police to patrol trains as suspect in custody over stabbing attack. The Sun. Devil on the 1825. Fiend knifed 11 passengers in 15 minutes, tasered by cops as he yelled, "Kill me." The Express. Hero steward bravely saved many lives. The Mail. The Devils not going to win. What knifeman told terrified passengers as he stabbed 11 in train rampage. All right, and joining me on the panel tonight, GB News contributor and comedian Paul Cox, senior reporter at Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley, and Labour councillor Sebastian Salick. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Look, should we just start briefly on the front page of The Sun here, because a picture you may not have seen yet, which is a picture of the alleged attacker wielding what looks to be, as you will see in this picture, circled, at least on the screen, with a very, very large knife. There you go, you can see it just there in full colour. The fiend knifed 11 passengers in 15 minutes. I believe the police were there in, I think, was it 7 to 14 minutes after the call? They were so fast. 8 minutes they were there after they received the call, which is rapid response, Paul. I don't want to spend too much time talking about this alleged attacker, because I think we should be talking about the heroes of this night, which were the emergency services who got there in incredible time when they received that call, the train driver who diverted to Huntingdon, and the railway worker who risked his life, is now in serious condition in hospital.
Yeah, look, I'm the comedian on the panel for this hour, and my job is incredibly difficult. I am not in a position to make fun of this. I don't want to. My blood boils for these situations. I have been on GB News for 3.5 to 4 years, and I had the sad duty to be in this position actually countless number of times. So I'm finding it very difficult this evening to discuss this in any other way or in any way that's entertaining whatsoever. I am really fed up of talking about it as well. I'm really fed up of talking about the heroes, the victims, the words that we have. We sit on panels like this, all of us well-meaning people, whatever political persuasion we come from, incredibly well-meaning people, and words are no longer of any use. it's action only now. It has to be action only now. The fact that we discuss things like place of birth or colour of skin, it's entirely irrelevant. This is a cultural issue. We've got one culture versus another, and we are either on the side of the culture that rampages on trains and stabs people to death, children included, no deaths so far, thank goodness, but there have been plenty before, or on the side of the people that don't want that to happen. And I don't care where they come from, what skin colour they are, I don't care what religion they are, I don't care about any of the whataboutery on X. I don't care about anything. Now is time to do something about it. I can quite happily sit here now and say the steward, the train driver, the public services were all fantastic. None of them have been put in a position to have had to deal with that. I mean, we talked then about the quick reaction, 7 to 8 minutes. Imagine being on that train.
It must have felt like a lifetime.
Can you imagine? We've all been on trains. I've actually been on that service to Leeds a couple of times to do comedy, and you are stuck in a tin can, waiting to be harmed in that situation. So 7 to 8 minutes to pull into, as brave as that was, to take him to Huntingdon, or the steward. I mean, what incredible bravery from the steward. Yeah. But all of these things are entirely avoidable. Yeah. Every single one of them. We can take a snapshot from last year, the year before, the year before that, the year before that, and say, this is what could happen, this is what will happen, this is what happens when these situations happen. And we could have saved that steward a whole lot of pain. We could have saved every victim on that train and every one of their families a whole lot of anxiety and future pain. The people that were on that train yesterday, they'd barely begun their journey of recovery. They are just getting over the fact that they have either got away with it unscathed, or they're in hospital recovering, and God willing, all of them do recover. But this is entirely avoidable. And we live in a first world country. We do not need to live like this. We never need to live like this. And we have to do whatever we can to make sure it stops.
Yeah, Sebastian, I'll come straight over to you. The words of the Defence Secretary today kind of riled me up a little bit. John Healey said, British people need to be more vigilant and we should just go about our lives as normal. I think that's so out of touch. I think British people are looking over their shoulder more than they ever have done before. I got on the train to get here tonight. We don't get chauffeured around. I come here on the train and I'm thinking to myself, am I sitting next to someone who's just going to pull a knife out and just randomly start stabbing people? How can the Defence Secretary be saying things like that? Do you think he's out of touch by making those statements?
I mean, let's not speculate on this case specifically, but when there is an attack like this, particularly a terrorist attack, the aim of that attack is to strike fear into people's hearts and to make them behave differently and to think differently as a result. And I think it's entirely right to say we will not be bowed by this. It's what we say after every attack, and it's really important to remember that. Not always easy. Those thoughts quite reasonably do enter your head because of the recency of that attack and how much prominence it's had rightfully in the media. But we can't let these people, whether they are doing it for extremist ideological reasons or just for reasons of poor mental health, change our way of life.
I agree, but Healey was saying British people should be more vigilant. That suggests that we should change our behaviour. And I think that's not the way that we should approach it. Healey and Shabana Mahmood should immediately be coming out and saying we're going to ramp up stop and search. We know that works. We spoke about the studies earlier. Increased sentencing for anyone holding a knife, and you agreed with that. Why aren't they saying that sort of thing now? Instead, they're going, be more careful when you're out on the street. And of course, we naturally are. I also used to take that train, that LNER, all the time up and down from Durham to London, and you would see the see it, say it, sorted. Well, it was eventually sorted, but we still have people in hospital fighting for their lives, and it's absolutely obscene.
Ellie's absolutely right here. One thing is absolutely apparent to us all. Government should not be coming out at this point and saying we need to do anything. There is endless opportunity up until this point to stop any of this happening. If you gaslight people to death to tell them that if they question or notice anything in any way, they are in any way bigoted, racist, and all these other tropes that have been aimed at us all who want to question this, then you are part of the problem. You are massively part of the problem. If not part of the problem, you are the problem. The people that are encouraging us to be vigilant government are getting it wrong, entirely wrong. It's not about us being vigilant. You have the veto. You can stop people coming into the country, or in this case, people were born here, I understand. I don't know the full story, none of us do at this point. But so what? There is an indoctrination of these people. They hate... There's no way that guy is rampaging through a train thinking of anything other than some ideology, mental health or otherwise, Sebastian. And I'm sorry, we can stop that. The minute someone carries a knife like that, 10 years in prison. If you're with someone who's carrying a knife, you have 5 years in prison. You just keep doing it by association the whole time. I know it sounds incredibly draconian, and it's incredible coming from me as someone who wants very small government. But I'm sorry, when it comes to cultural differences like this, and knife crime in particular, terrorism, we have to do absolutely everything we can to stop it. And it's not our problem. The government had every power at their behest to do this, and they haven't done it again.
So, sorry, I'm not completely following what you're saying. What should the government have done differently in this case?
This is not... This is like... I mean, let's look at this from a Fabian perspective. This has crept up on us for decades upon decades upon decades.
Yeah.
We have been sold the dream of multiculturalism, OK?
Yeah.
We have put a melting pot of people together, and not always the best. Not always the best of those cultures. They've all been lumped together, and the incumbent culture have been told, stand, you must accept it, and you must adapt to it. And the upshot of that is what we're seeing on the train yesterday. We could have stopped this 5 years ago. We could have stopped this 10 years ago. We have to understand what our incumbent culture is.
Just to be clear, are you blaming multiculturalism for this?
I think multiculturalism has a lot to do with this, Sebastian.
Why?
Well, it wouldn't happen otherwise, would it? Because what we're being told to accept is we're being told to accept lots of different cultures. And
so what would you like? Only white people live in Britain?
No, that's not... But you're thinking culture as skin colour. That's the problem, Sebastian.
Well, what are you telling me? Be more specific.
Culture's got nothing to do with skin colour.
Only British people, then?
No, British valued people. People who believe in British values. People who believe in our incumbent culture.
Yeah.
You can come from any corner of the world, any colour, any religion, and believe in our culture. The guy on that train yesterday does not believe in our culture. Our culture does not stab children.
We don't know what he's going through his head.
Because I am part of the culture. I am part of the good culture, the incumbent culture. I would never stab a child, Sebastian.
Neither would I, but you're speculating on somebody's mindset.
It's not speculating. Speculating is if it happens once or twice. This is the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th time it's happened.
Sebastian, can I ask you, do you think that we've had too much immigration from cultures that aren't similar enough to British culture?
No, I think that's a huge claim to make. What I do think you should do, if you move to this country, wherever in the world you come from, is make your best effort to integrate. And I think it's the job of the state and of communities to aid that as well, whether that's providing language lessons or welcoming people when they come, to give them a chance to be part of the community rather than ghettoising people.
Well, I think if you come to this country, you should absolutely have the same British cultural values that we have had in this country for a long time. And a lot of people who've come here, first generation, second generation, who've not been born here, have that. I mean, I was speaking to a local shopper near where I live, and he was from an Asian descent, and he was just really upset about it. It was actually, it was just after another stabbing last week. He was saying, I have bought into this country. I am British. And these people who are coming across on boats illegally, who do not want to buy into this country, do not want to buy into our values, they are making the rest of us look bad. And they are just against this as much as you or I. And so I think there is a problem with people coming here in this country and not buying into our British cultural values, which you agree with. And there needs to be something done about that.
I certainly agree. And I say this a lot. And we have, unfortunately, allowed too many people into this country who do not share our values. We see it. I was reporting on it yesterday. There are members of council in Tower Hamlets who are standing to be members of parliament in Bangladesh. Those people have not integrated in this country. They do not love this country, in my opinion. You wouldn't be standing for a foreign parliament if you did, while you're representing people here. So, unfortunately, I do have to disagree with you, Sebastian. I think we have done far too much of mass immigration into this country, and it is backfiring dramatically now, where there are massive ghettoised areas where British culture no longer exists. Talking of such, coming up. Yes, the jailed small boat migrant Madapasa is back in the headlines, and his latest antics have caught the attention of his victim, Nigel Farage. We'll reveal all after the break. This is Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Yeah, well, obviously you can't, on the one hand, say that the government is forcing everybody to go to work an hour early and then say people are welcome to go to work an hour earlier if they want to. As you say, Tom, there's a collective action problem. You know, people go to work at certain times, they have office hours, and those office hours are based on what everybody believes the time to be. So the point here is not that anybody believes that daylight savings actually creates more daylight. It just creates a daylight when people can actually enjoy it, and people tend to want their leisure and recreation after work rather than before work. It also has daylight saving time various health and well-being benefits. The reason that it was introduced during the First World War is, in fact, it does allow a certain amount of extra efficiency. You need less electricity, for example, in the evenings. You don't need to have the floodlights on during an afternoon football game and all the rest of it. So for health and well-being reasons, I'm very much in favour not just of keeping daylight saving time, but having it all year round.
But also, in terms of safety for women as well, it's better for us to be walking home if it's lighter and things like that, you know what I mean? When it's really dark, it does get dark quite quickly towards the winter months. There's no problem. I mean, what is the real reason as to why this would be a problem, Peter, for the clocks to change anyway? I mean, that's fine, isn't it? We all get used to it and then it comes back when the light sort of changes.
Well, collective madness is always a problem. When people do something stupid in very large numbers, it's worrying. I mean, I find it amusing now because it's obviously impossible to persuade people that this thing is as crazy as it is. You say things like, it's better for women to be able to walk down the street when it's light. Well, no doubt it is. But the street will remain as light or as dark as it would have been before, whether you fiddle with the clocks or whether you don't.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
A few days ago, Patrick Christie's revealed videos of Madha Passa, the man convicted of threatening to kill Nigel Farage, from prison. Yes, well, Nigel Farage has posted the following response. This is Madha Passa, the man recently convicted of threatening to kill me. How is he allowed to continue posting these videos from prison? Britain is broken. Prison service spokesperson said it is outrageous this criminal has got to mobile phone into prison, and we have taken immediate action to pull these videos down and remove the profile. Prisoners found to have a mobile phone or use social media could face extra time behind bars. Does this prove Nigel Farage right? Is Britain broken? Well, I'm back here with my fantastic panel. Paul, this video sent shockwaves when we saw it the other night because, of course, you think he should be serving hard time in prison. He looks like he's having the time of his life in there with his mates doing TikTok videos.
It is shocking. I don't think any of us are actually hugely shocked by it, though. I think a lot of criminals in prison, they're all criminals in prison. I think we can all agree on that.
Yes. I think that's well established.
I think they all have access to things we'd rather they didn't. But especially this particular guy, given the zeitgeist, given everything we spoke about earlier, given the problems we have in our country, the fact that he's able to have access to a mobile device, access social media, and essentially repeat the same things that got him in trouble in the first place, does tell us that there is something perhaps fundamentally wrong with our justice system. Does it apply just to him? As much as I'd like to sit here and say it does, it doesn't. It probably applies to all sorts of criminals. There'll be white burglars in there who are talking about burgling people again when they get out. What it does tell us, though, is that we probably need to be a much tougher on this. You could detect mobile devices in any room using pretty rudimental technology. So you could detect a mobile device within a prison quite easily with a scanning device. Now, I know that comes at a price, and perhaps we don't have the budget, but we probably shouldn't. And you can also block. I mean, it doesn't. MI6, for instance, could block the signal at any prison at any given time, just like that. So nobody could ever transmit anything. So to say there's nothing we can do about it would be wrong. Is it shocking? Yes. Am I shocked? No.
Ali, as we know, there is a massive crisis in our prisons. Just was it a week ago, days ago? I can't remember. I can't keep up anymore. We had Hadush Kabatu, the infamous paedophile, sex predator who got accidentally released from prison. I mean, what hope do we have of stopping mobile phones when we can't even release the right prisoners?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, clearly our prison system is in crisis, partly the Tories' fault, but so far Labour's been in government for nearly a year and a half, and we haven't actually seen improvement. We've seen thousands and thousands of criminals being released early from their not serving not even half of their sentence, and they are rapists and sexual assaulters. So it's obviously in crisis. And again, how is it that this man who's so high profile, and by the way, he doesn't just face charges of threatening to kill Nigel, but other ones, including child pornography. He's facing a charge of that as well. So this guy is clearly a wrong-un. And what happened to Labour promising to deport all illegal criminals?
It's in progress.
Why isn't he being deported?
I mean, I couldn't tell you why he specifically hasn't been deported, but deportations are up by 14% among criminals since Labour came to power. So that is a plan that is accelerating.
Do you think there's an issue with our laws in this country that do protect foreign criminals, do protect illegal migrants who come to the country, and it gives them a free pass? We see so many cases, and I could sit here all day. I think I might just do a whole rant one day on this show about all the migrants that have got off and allowed to stay in this country. Do you think we need to change the law now?
I think there's a conversation to be had around Article 8 of the ECHR. We have to make sure that human rights are working as intended and they're not letting people off the hook. But broadly, I think those work. What I think would be a real issue is if we just ripped up the whole thing, admitted defeat essentially, and said, "Screw that, let's come up with our own plan."
Well, isn't that the perfect solution? Having our own laws, and which we have had before the ECHR, by the way, so that we're not sort of handcuffed to this foreign court that lets us off. So, for example, you know how a lot of these asylum seekers are being put up in Inverness in that military barracks. That is now having to be refurbed. £1 million contract has just been signed, starting in January. The new flooring, etc. There is £300,000 going towards removing asbestos, which is fair enough, but the rest is basically just renovations. And the Home Office has said that the reason we're doing this is because we don't want asylum seekers to take us to court, like they have done in the past, for being mistreated, using the ECHR. They did that using the ECHR. Wouldn't this just solve a whole load of our problems if we just left this foreign court and came up with our own proper human rights law that protects us, but also protects us from others?
So two things. Firstly, I wouldn't be in a hurry to complain about military accommodation being done up. I think that's money well spent, and I'm pleased to see this government spending billions upon billions on that as part of a larger programme. What I'd say about human rights is that they are universal, and that's why they're special, and that's why they work. And if you throw away the ones you don't like, you're then starting to nitpick, and then that completely erodes the whole concept of universality.
The idea that we would lose human rights if we got rid of the ECHR, though, is for the birds.
Why?
Absolutely. It's not. It's like saying none of us would have any morals without religion. If you're not religious in any way, and I'm speaking as a Christian here, if I wasn't a Christian, I'd like to think that I'd still have the same morals as a Christian.
So would I, but we don't know what a future government might do. The point of the ECHR is it sits there.
But that's the fear, isn't it? We're striking fear. You saw how passionate I was earlier. That comes from my own fear. I'm a family man. I'm a father. I'm scared for my friends. I'm scared for people I love. The idea that if we took the ECHR away, that we'd all just become these heathens that would not be able to cope.
But
and would
Paul,
not
remember
have a
why
moral
we have
basis.
it in the first place? It was part of the post-war
We didn't need
consensus.
it until after the war.
Well, this is the interesting thing about it, and of course that's why it was set up.
Yeah.
It was set up, but as
because heinous things happen, and we said never again, and
yes,
I personally mean that.
That's right. That's absolutely right. However, that has now been weaponised, hasn't it? It's been weaponised by people who have committed heinous crimes on our soil against British people who have now been allowed to stay in our country, and that is why there's an issue with the ECHR.
Agreed, and that's why we have to have a conversation about how it applies, but ripping it all up entirely and thinking we can do better...
So are you suggesting that we scrap that part of the Human Rights Act? When you say reform, how can you reform with a whole bunch of other countries?
So human rights law is open to interpretation, as all law is, and we need to have a conversation about how exactly we interpret that law. It doesn't mean changing the law, because it is universal, it has to stay.
But you always have these judges who lean towards one way or the other. That just will always happen.
Of course, that's what a judge's job is.
And they will interpret the law how they see fit, and if that law is there to be weaponised, they will. So
but
how
often,
would we solve
human
that?
rights is about balancing one right against another, and it's up to the judge to decide which.
Yeah.
So that is just the nature of legal decisions. But you're never going to escape that.
What reform are you talking about then?
So I'm not talking about changing the law, I'm talking about changing how we interpret the law, which is a really common thing that's done in legal circles.
So what are you saying that judges... And so what would judges in the future do then?
So,
in your ideal world?
So we would issue guidance, perhaps, which would talk about how you interpret Article 8 of ECHR, which would mean we wouldn't have to scrap the thing, because that would be, as I would see it, geopolitical vandalism, but we would have a bit more flexibility than we currently
Sebastian,
do.
you're talking like it's 1998. All that's gone. All that's gone, my friend. What happened on a train yesterday? What happened to Wayne Broadhurst earlier in the week? It's all gone. Those days are long gone.
So hang on, Paul. A terrorist attack happened, or an attack happened, therefore we should scrap universal human rights?
No, what we should be able to do is take anything like that and deal with it as we see fit as a nation. We cannot do that under the ECHR, because as Ellie points out, because there's huge amounts of ideology within the judicial system that would put a stop to anything that they would consider draconian in some way, based on their political view. My political view...
So you're now into activist judges. You're not specifically criticising the
activist
ECHR
judges rely on the ECHR.
Yeah, it's a tool
The
that
thing
they can
is,
use.
right, this is the thing. British people are fed up of seeing the law weaponised against them. They have had hundreds of thousands of, at this point in time, it's hundreds of thousands of people illegally break into this country. Some of them commit crimes like rape, murder and other things, and then a lefty lawyer comes in, takes the law that's designed to protect us, and then they say, because of this European Court of Human Rights law, this evil person is allowed to stay at your expense, at our expense, the taxpayers' expense, and that is why they're allowed to stay here. And all this hogwash about how we're going to go to the ECHR and we're going to help them to change the laws. How did that go for David Cameron when he went to the EU with cap in hand, tried to get a few scraps to stop Brexit from happening? It was a disaster. We are an advanced Western nation. There is no chance in hell that we are going to not have some form of human rights in this country. In fact, it's grounded in our constitution. It's grounded in the principles of rights built into the foundation of this country. Magna Carta. We could dig up legal documents that would stop any heinous acts from happening. So this lefty argument that we need to have more and more laws that actually constrict us, I think just falls apart when you actually look at the things we've already done.
We don't need more laws. We need to use the ones we've got. We need to use the ones we've got because they were there after horrible things happened in the 1940s that we never want to happen again. And we did a good job of moving on from that.
All right. The ECHR will prevent World War III.
It wouldn't happen
It would
again.
certainly
It wouldn't happen again under a British government. The British, and I could hear the national anthem playing in the background now.
It will be soon if you're up early in the morning, by the way.
We fought that war from day one to the very last day, knowing we would lose everything. But we did it to fight the Nazis. That was without the ECHR. So I genuinely believe that we would have no problem without the ECHR.
Well, there you go. There, we've had a very hearty debate about it. What do you think? gbnews.com/you'll see. Let me know. Coming up, we'll be crossing over to Washington, D.C. to hear how the Late Show Live and what they've got in store for us tonight. This is Alex Armstrong, tonight's Late Edition.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
After recent heavy rain across parts of Portugal and Spain, they are generally seeing a drier interlude at the moment, and Iberia is looking dry over the next couple of days, although further rain is expected here as we head later on into the week. So reversal of fortunes for parts of Italy, the Balkans and Greece, though they currently have the rain at the moment, some thunderstorms around as well. But this band of rain will continue its way eastwards, and so later on in the week it will return to drier and sunnier conditions for these countries.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, very good evening to you. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. As we transition into the new working week, it is set to turn wetter and windier overall. Already this evening we are starting to see rain move in from the west, and this will spread eastwards across many areas overnight. It will turn heavy and persistent in places, particularly over some higher ground sites like northwestern England and parts of northwest Wales. Blustery night to come as well. But those winds are filtering in some very mild air, and so by the time we reach Monday morning, many of us will see double-digit figures when we're walking out the door. Despite the mild start to the day, though, do be prepared for a lot of cloud on the scene. It's going to be fairly damp and dreary for many. Further outbreaks of rain possible as you are heading to work. Some of those could be on the heavy side as well. The winds will be blustery right throughout the day. We could see gales in exposed coastal and mountain areas. Generally, if you are a little bit further towards the east, there is the greater chance, particularly in the afternoon, that we start to see the cloud breaking up a touch more. And maybe for parts of southeastern England, northeastern Scotland as well, we might start to see some sunshine emerging through. And generally, eastern areas will stay that little bit drier, with the rain more persistent out towards the west. But it is going to be a mild day right throughout, even despite the cloudy scenes, and temperatures will be peaking around 15 to 16 degrees Celsius. Our low pressure system is going to stay with us into Tuesday. A lot of isobars on the chart here indicating it's going to remain fairly unsettled. The occluded front generally draped northeast to southwest, and that's where we're going to see the bulk of the rain moving through on Tuesday. Potential for some quite heavy rain to move across southwest England into southern Wales at points as well. There's still some uncertainty in regards to exactly where that will be positioned, but certainly southeastern England, again northern Scotland, perhaps seeing some brighter spells moving through. But the unsettled and slightly mild theme is looking to continue right throughout next week. Bye-bye.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, joining me now ahead of The Late Show live at midnight tonight is GB News' very own superstar, Bev Turner. Bev, what's coming up on your show tonight?
Hi Alex, lovely to see you. We have got the latest on the stabbing, of course, tonight. We'll be bringing you any developments on that. We're also going to be looking at some of the pictures from Donald Trump's Halloween party. Yesterday, he'll be arriving back in Washington during our time. And an interesting debate, Alex, because on Halloween on Friday night, there was a bit of disruption in one area of DC. It's called the Navy Yard, and there was basically dozens, possibly a couple of hundred kids, teenagers, who all went a bit wild and they ran around. 4 people got arrested, 1 police officer was knocked to the ground. The solution here is a curfew, a juvenile curfew from Saturday to Wednesday. So you cannot be out after 11 o'clock at night. Fascinating. Like, would you be okay at home for the government to tell your teenager, no, you can't be out. If you're under 18, you've got to be home in bed. Your parents need to know where you are. In some ways, obviously, it seems really appealing as a parent to think the government might help you in that way, and also just as a citizen to clamp down on sort of disruptive and potentially criminal behaviour. But it does raise that very interesting issue about whether the government should really be able to tell your teenagers where they should be at any given point. So I want to hear from our audience on that, whether they would support such a thing.
I think it's actually quite an interesting idea, Bev, because one of the problems we were talking about, of course, across the show over the last 24 hours is lawless Britain. And I think we've lost so much authority now, because the kids can't be told off by teachers, they can't be told off by parents, some of them just blatantly ignore the police. And I think at some point we're going to have to say we need to reverse some of that rot. We need to empower authorities for a little bit. And I know I'm a bit like you, Bev. I'm very cautious of giving government powers over rights of human beings. So I know there's a balance to be found, but sometimes a bit of collective punishment can hold people accountable.
You see, you know, you get parents now who will say to teachers, you can't tell my child what to do, you can't keep them in detention. We've got a whole generation of parents, weak parents, frankly, in my opinion, who don't even back up authority in the form of teachers. And I can totally imagine a lot of parents will be watching this and go, no, you can't, you know, you shouldn't keep my child at home. And if it was your child that hadn't been causing this disorderly behaviour, then you might say, well, why would you punish my 17-year-old when she just wants to walk to the house of her friend tonight? Why is she getting punished for the bad behaviour, again, of the minority? So, very interesting debate. We're going to be talking about that. And what else are we going to be doing? Go on.
I just wanted to ask you, because something that caught my attention in the last 24 hours was Trump talking about Nigeria. And it effectively sounded to me like a modern-day sort of crusade. It's like, is America now becoming like the country to look for to spiritual Christianity? Because, of course, he's talking about what's happening, the slaughter of Christians across parts of Nigeria, saying he might even put going guns a-blazing. How are Americans reacting to that?
We will find out this evening, Alex, in about 20 minutes or so, because this is sort of a news story that's broken today, actually. You beat me to it. We are talking about this tonight. And this is, obviously, we've seen these pictures on social media particularly. They haven't really made it through onto mainstream media. GBNews has shown the pictures, I know, of Nigerian Christians being slaughtered, run out of town, murdered. This is a very Christian government here in DC, unabashedly, unashamedly, proudly Christian. And so Donald Trump has obviously seen this footage online, and let's see what he announces tomorrow. I think there'd be a huge amount of support for it here, actually, and I think they would, file this under the things that should be done, morally, ethically, the right thing to be done for a government to do under these circumstances as well.
Absolutely agree. Well, Bev, I can't wait to watch the show. That's The Late Show Live, starting at midnight tonight in a very few minutes, actually, in 20 minutes. Bev, very, very briefly, have you picked up any Americanism since you've been out there?
I keep finding myself saying certain words. I wrote one today, Alex. I can't remember, but it's really simple things like sidewalk or pavement. You know, instead of pavement, it's these funny little things. I find myself saying, like, you know, cutting in line rather than standing in the queue, that kind of thing. But yeah, I have to be careful. I have to stop myself becoming too Americanized. I know where my heart lies. I know who our viewers are. Don't you worry. You will not lose me to America.
I know we won't. And the reason why I'm asking, I'll bring this back to the panel. I'll thank you for joining us both. Really excited for the show. Midnight tonight. Please, everyone, tune in. It's going to be a brilliant show tonight. It's because on the front page of the Times tonight, everybody, there's a story called, it says here, trash-talking children are sounding like Americans. And they say it starts with a single word. A 9-year-old asks for candy instead of sweets or takes an elevator, not a lift. Slips such as these are becoming common in classrooms in the UK. Teachers and parents report that Americanisms and even American accents are creeping into children's language, often via YouTube, Seb. What do you make of this?
Well, buckle up, GB News viewers. This is one of those issues where my views career incredibly closely to the people at home, I think. One of my big bugbears, American cultural hegemony. I can't stand it. It's everywhere, isn't it? There's American TV, American music. A lot of it is very good. But the problem is it starts to dominate, as we're seeing, the way we speak. The good news, though, is that we can and have in the past fought back. If you cast your mind back to the early 2010s, you had programmes like Sherlock and Doctor Who that were really popular in America. You had American teenagers who started using British spellings because they fell in love with everything that is great about this country. And so that's why the moral of this story for me is fund the arts, fund the BBC to start pumping out that stuff. Sorry, I know I might offend a few souls here. I had to go and ruin it.
Ellie, because one of the things we were talking about in the break was ChatGPT and AI tools similar to ChatGPT. It all is in American. And guess what? 90% of students are using. Right there,
they're using AI, and AI will be a part of our lives for the foreseeable. So, yeah, we've got to make sure that our children keep our British language because it's so great. And, you know, there's a lot of Americans that come over and they go, God, I love your accent. You sound so intelligent, you know. And so
I love the Thames.
They do.
I love the London Thames.
They love it. And I'm very proud of our accents in Britain. I mean, we did come up with a language, so we should keep it to... It's the truth, yeah.
It's one of my bugbears is when you see the American flag next to when they put you to select English. I'm like,
the worst.
No, it's not. Put the Union Jack there, for goodness sake. Paul, of course, what do you make of Americans? Are you that bothered?
In terms of popular culture, of course, we're influenced. I think because a lot of our popular culture is led by what happens in the US and filters through to us. I mean, it's gone both ways, right back to the 60s with, you know, the Beatles and the Stones. We imported some great stuff there. They've obviously imported some great music here. But in terms of popular culture, we're inundated through TikTok and YouTube and everything else on social media. So it's I'm not too worried. I mean, I've got a daughter who's at A-level age, and I can see that some of her language has become Americanised. I know I'm on GBNews, but I don't stop her, make her sing the national anthem and then say it properly. I don't do any of that. You know, I might put it out or tease it or whatever. But this is the way it's going now. I think we're going to end up with this homogeny. It's going to. We're going to become American British, British American.
Do you think so?
I think to some degree. I don't want that.
Because what we do live, and I think we have to be honest, there is an American empire right now, and they are the dominant superpower, particularly of the world, but of the West in particular. Sebastian, because one of the things Reform and some of the more right-leaning parties are proposing, things like sing the national anthem, talk about our culture in a more positive light, because we do see schools, you know, make a bit of a mockery of our culture sometimes and play it down. Do you think we need to do more of that?
I think on our culture we have to do both. We have to be honest about the bad stuff. I certainly didn't learn about any of it at school. I went to Dublin for the first time and I was absolutely horrified by everything that went on I had no idea about. But there's so much good as well, and I think a lot of it comes from the people's history. It's how our ancestors lived and worked. And
we also shouldn't be ashamed of it, Sebastian. We shouldn't be ashamed of our past. We should accept it and own it. You and I mean, you could argue we're a different generation because I'm probably about 20 years older than you. But you and I shouldn't accept the blame for the past.
No, of course not.
And we should also understand culturally why we were involved in the conflicts that we were and why we were doing it from our perspective. And with every conflict, there's a victim. And for some time, you know, for some considerable time, we were a huge empire, the biggest empire there's ever been. And as a result of that, there was some collateral damage.
Yeah, indeed. Well, listen, Marie, you've said here on yours, say Marie Campbell, I cannot stand some of your presenters saying news instead of news. Ooh. Can you tell me, Marie, you can direct message me, tell me who it is. Who it is. We'll be back in a very short break and talk more about some of these big stories. See you in a tick.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
All right, welcome back. I asked you which presenters, and Billy here has thrown Dawn Newsom. Newsom, should I say? I've got her name wrong. Newsom. Billy says Dawn Newsom. She's going to be up early enough tomorrow to see this. It says news instead of news. Whether you've been told, Dawn, all right, get your act together, OK? Well, listen, something else about schooling, because The Telegraph, an inside story here, they say schools compared Reform's policies to fascism. The chain of schools that compared Reform UK's policies to fascism in politics lessons has been accused of imposing deep socialist bias on children. Sounds like one of the... Sebastian Selleck might be running these classes. Students at schools run by Orion Education, which has 8 academies in England, were taught that the party's policies had been exploited by extremists to spread hate, xenophobia and racism, and they normalise far-right views. Teachers showed pupils a diagram of the political spectrum. Check this out. In the UK, it's on screen now, and for those of you who can't see it, or who might be listening on radio, basically all the political parties, including the Nazi flag on the far right of this right wing, and then the communism flag on the left flank there. Well, Reform UK is closer to the Nazi flag. In fact, it's directly underneath it here. That's how extreme this is. They've put the Liberal Democrats bang in the middle with the SNP, which I think is the biggest joke of this whole thing. And they put the Tories on the centre right. I mean, look, this is the kind of stuff that parents have nightmares over, isn't it? Of course, this is near the BNP. They've got Reform UK there as well. This is the sort of stuff that the British public are sick of, and they don't know their kids are being taught this, Paul.
Pure propaganda.
Yeah.
Nothing but propaganda there. I think even maybe Sebastian would look at that and see some elements of propaganda in there. I mean, the idea that the Nazi Party and Reform are that close on any diagram is absolutely nuts. And actually, that's the rhetoric that's getting us in a lot of trouble at the moment. And perhaps, even perhaps, on the far left of that, to keep saying that the Labour Party are the same as the Communist Party. Now, I would put your party way out onto the far left. I don't mean Sebastian hasn't got a party, as far as I'm aware. What I mean is whatever they're called, the Your Party, right? But UKIP to be the left of of reform also? I don't think that's true either.
But can I just ask this, because is the traditional left and right just completely gone now? Do you think that we're in a very weird time? I mean, we've got Keir Starmer talking about, you know, island of strangers. These are things you'd never hear from
Which he then regretted and said he
Yeah,
lost the
true.
speech.
Yeah, rightfully
And then
so.
actually, what do you mean rightfully? He then came out again saying, "Oh, I regret that I regret." He actually did a double U-turn on that, which was totally mental. Anyway, just a flip-flop, I'm afraid. But I think this is total brainwashing our kids. We saw this with the sort of woke trans ideology agenda that is slowly being pushed back in schools. Now we're seeing it with this. And actually, it's unfair to teach our children no, but not just a political bias, but they have a proper understanding of actual politics and what these people and what these parties stand for. By the way, now they're going to be voting at 16. They should have a serious show of what these parties stand for and what their policies actually mean, so that they can then make an analytical judgment. We should be teaching our children analytical judgment and be able to critique these sort of things rather than just shoving it in their face. Nazis are wrong. Reform are obviously wrong because they're like the Nazis, which is just totally mind-boggling.
I think all of this is a bit of a reach. Yeah, it was next to it, but
underneath.
But it was along a spectrum. Are we really going to draw the conclusion that whoever has created this thinks that reform are the Nazis?
But even so close to the Nazis is kind of mental.
At the very least, people believe they're akin to the Nazis.
Some people might do. I wouldn't necessarily agree with them.
Because they say they're like fascists.
Okie dokie. Well, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there. We're going to have to leave it there. Maybe we'll put the graphic up some other time this week and we can go back and fight about it, because I think it's preposterous. Should we go through your newspapers one more time, shall we? The Independent, if I can find it. Here it is in front of me. Heroic train worker fighting for life after stabbing rampage. The Metro. Scandal of risky high street baby scans. Calls for law changes. Real illnesses missed. And mums told healthy unborns are dead. The Telegraph. The devil's not going to win. Train attacker told passengers. The Guardian. Heroic rail worker in fight for life after tackling train knife attacker. The Eye. Police to patrol trains as suspect in custody over stabbing attack. The Sun. Devil on the 1825. Fiend knifed 11 passengers in 50 mins. Tasered by cops as he yelled, "Kill me." The Express. Hero steward bravely saved many lives. The Mail. The devil's not going to win. What knifeman told terrified passengers as he stabbed 11 in train rampage. Well, thank you so much, Sebastian, Ellie, Paul. Lovely to have you as ever. That's all we've got time for tonight. Up next is The Late Show Live, hosted by the one and only Bev Turner.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, very good evening. Welcome to The Late Show Live. And this evening, we're going to be looking at the very latest on the stabbings. Where is Kemi Badenoch? She's been the leader of the Conservatives 1 year today. Are you impressed by what she's doing? And Donald Trump landing back in Washington, D.C., having spent the weekend, and he's come back with plans to help Nigerian Christians. Stay with us.
We could be delivering the perfect Christmas to you this year. There's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 the best year yet. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family. There's £1,000 to spend in your favourite supermarket. And a festively themed GB News goodie bag. And we'll get it all to you in time for the big day. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around, a nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co. with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on